Alrighty, so I'm coming before you tonight, and I want to finish up the book of Esther. I believe we have chapter 7, 8, 9, and 10 to finish up. Um, and before I get started, I just wanted to apologize for the lighting. I'm in my kitchen, and the lighting is not that great in any of the rooms in my house. They're like the energy efficient lights, so they're not all like super bright and everything. So I just wanted to apologize for that. But my main concern is you hearing what I have to say concerning the word. And also, I wanted to talk to you about eunuchs just a little bit. I did not know that eunuchs were castrated. I didn't know that. That's something I should have known, but I didn't know that. Did not know that they were castrated. And they were castrated so that they would not sexually abuse the women that they were in charge of. But I'm not a man, but the thought of them having to be castrated in order to do their jobs as a eunuch, and I guess they chose to do that, is like I wouldn't want to do it if I was a man, but okay. So now we're getting to the exciting part of the word. Chapter 7, Haman impaled. So we left off. Uh, we left off with Haman's advisors and his wife telling him to go ahead to the party and enjoy himself. And they was like, well, you're not going to win trying to destroy the Jewish people. So just go ahead to this party and enjoy yourself. Chapter 7, Haman impaled. So the king and Haman went to Queen Esther's banquet. And as they were drinking wine on the second day, the king asked Queen Esther again, Queen Esther, what is your petition? It will be given you. What is your request? Even up to half of the kingdom, it will be granted. Then Queen Esther answered, if I have found favor with you, your majesty, and it pleases you, grant me my life. This is my petition. And spare my people. This is my request. So she kind of flipped it. So you remember earlier when I said that the petition is the compilation of the people's signature, what the people desire, and the request would be her personal desire. But she flipped it and she said that the petition was for her life and the request was for her people. So I guess that's a bit noble of her. She says, for I and my people have been sold to be destroyed, killed and annihilated. If we had merely been sold as male and female slaves, I would have kept quiet, because no such distress would justify disturbing the king. King Xerxes asked Queen Esther, who is he? Where is he, the man who has dared to do such a thing? Esther said, an adversary, an enemy, this vile Haman. So Haman, if he wasn't terrified before, he is terrified now. Haman was terrified before the king and queen. The king got up in a rage, left his wine, and went out into the palace garden. But Haman Realizing the king had already decided his fate, he stayed behind to beg Queen Esther for his life. Just as the king returned from the palace garden to the banquet hall, Haman was falling on the couch where Esther was reclining. And the king exclaimed, "Oh man, will you even molest the queen while she is with me in the house? Like, you don't got no you know, like you don't have he just didn't care. He's like, you don't care, man. Like, you gonna do this while I'm right here? You don't got no coof. I can't think of a better word to say. Like he should have known. Like, how? Don't do that. You already. It's done. So the king exclaimed again, will he even molest the queen while she's with me in the house? As soon as the word left the king's mouth, dun dun dun, they covered Haman's face. That meant the end for him. Then Harbona, one of the eunuchs attending the king, said, a pole reaching to a height of 50 cubits stands by Haman's house. See, they didn't even know why this was there, why it was built. But Haman knew. And like I said earlier, the traps that you set for us will indeed be traps that you set for yourself, and that's towards the enemy. So the eunuch let him know that there was a pole reaching like as high as 50 cubits by Haman's house. So he had it set up for Mordecai, who spoke up to help the king. So this eunuch let it all out why Haman had this pole built there. And so the king said, impale him on it. So they impaled Haman on the pole he had set up for Mordecai. Then the king's fury subsided. So vengeance belonged to the Lord, and he surely did repay. And now we go to chapter 8, the king's edict in behalf of the Jews. So now you remember when the king had already made an edict, and he gave Haman permission to kill all the Jews because they didn't bow down to him and they did not worship him. So he gave him his signet ring, and he sealed that edict with the king's ring. He sealed it, and it was sent out to all the provinces and everywhere in every language, so that they knew, and it had the king's seal on it. So there was no retracting. Even the king could not cancel it. He couldn't turn it around, because once he says something, that's it. And so the same day, King Xerxes gave Queen Esther the estate of Haman. So she got Haman's estate, the enemy of the Jews. And Mordecai came into the presence of the king, for Esther had told how he was related to her. And the king took off his signet. He took off his signet ring, which he had reclaimed from Haman, and presented it to Mordecai. And Esther appointed him over Haman's estate. Esther again pleaded with the king, falling at his feet and weeping. She begged him to put an end to the evil plan of Haman, the Agagite, which he had devised against the Jews. Then the king extended the gold scepter to Esther, and she arose and stood before him. If it pleases the king, she said, and if he regards me with favor and thinks it the right thing to do, and if he is pleased with me, let an order be written overruling the dispatches that Haman, son of Hammedatha, and the Agatite devised and wrote to destroy the Jews in all the king's provinces. For how can I bear to see disaster fall on my people? How can I bear to see the destruction of my family? King Xerxes then replied to Queen Esther and to Mordecai the Jew, because Haman attacked the Jews, I have given his estate to Esther, and they have impaled him on the pole he set up. Now write another decree in the king's name in behalf of the Jews as seems best to you, and seal it with the king's signet ring. For no document written in the king's name and sealed with his ring can be revoked, like I told you earlier. So at once the royal secretaries were summoned, and on the 23rd day of the third month, the month of Sivan, which I'm not sure what month that is, but on the month of Sivan, they wrote out all Mordecai's orders to the Jews and to the satraps, governors, and nobles of the 127 provinces stretching from India to Cush. These orders were written in the script of each province and the language of each people, and also to the Jews in their own script and language. Mordecai wrote in the name of King Xerxes, sealed the dispatches with the king's signet ring, and sent them by mounted couriers who rode fast horses, especially bred for the king. The king's edict granted the Jews in every city the right to assemble and protect themselves, to destroy, kill, and annihilate the armed men of any nationality or province who might attack them and their women and children, and to plunder the property of their enemies. The day appointed for the Jews to do this in all provinces of King Xerxes was the 13th day of the 12th month, the month of Adar. A copy of the text of the edict was to be issued as law in every province and made known to the people of every nationality, so that the Jews would be ready on that day to avenge themselves on their enemies. The couriers riding the royal horses went out and spurred on by the king's command, and the edict was issued in the citadel of Susa. So, like I said, when a king made an edict, it could not be revoked. It couldn't be reversed. So that had to stand. The first edict had to stand where the people were permitted to try and come and kill the Jews. But then King Xerxes, he wrote another edict, and they put his seal on it. He wrote another one where when they come, because they were coming, when they come, he gave them the right to defend themselves, to fight back, do what they could to defend themselves. So it was it was going to be a fair one, because they were coming on that day, and then he released them to defend themselves on that very same day. So like I said, it was going to be a fair one. So the triumph of the Jews. And when Mordecai left the king's presence, he was wearing royal garments of blue and white, a large crown of gold, and a purple robe of fine linen. And the city of Susa held a joyous celebration. For the Jews, it was a time of happiness and joy, gladness and honor. In every province and in every city to which the edict of the king came, there was joy and gladness among the Jews, with feasting and celebrating. And many people of other nationalities became Jews because fear of the Jews had seized them. And on the 13th day of the 12th month, the month of Adar, the edict The edict commanded by the king was to be carried out. On this day, the enemies of the Jews had hoped to overpower them. But now the tables were turned, and the Jews got the upper hand over those who hated them. The Jews assembled in their cities in all provinces of King Xerxes to attack those determined to destroy them. No one could stand against them because the people of the other nationalities were afraid of them. And all the nobles of the provinces, the satraps, the governors, and the king's administrators helped the Jews because fear of Mordecai had seized them. Mordecai was prominent in the palace, and his reputation spread throughout the provinces, and he became more and more powerful. The Jews struck down all their enemies with the sword, killing and destroying them. And they did what pleased to those who hated him. The Jews struck down all their enemies with the sword, killing and destroying them, and they did what they pleased to those who hated them. In the citadel of Susa, the Jews killed and destroyed 500 men. They also killed Parshandatha, Dalphon, Aspatha, Poratha, Adalia, Aridatha, Parmashta, Arisa, Arida, and Vyaztha, the 10 sons of Haman, the ones he was bragging about, son of Hammedatha, the enemies of the Jews. But they did not lay their hands on the plunder. The number of those killed in the citadel of Susa was reported to the king that same day. The king said to Queen Esther, "The Jews have killed and destroyed 500 men and the 10 sons of Haman in the citadel of Susa. What have they done in the rest of the king's provinces? Now, what is your petition? It will be given you. What is your request? It will also be granted." So he was seeing if there was anything else she wanted, because they had now received, they have now done vengeance through the Lord. He gave them vengeance. So that was completed. And so now he was like, well, what else can I do for you? So Esther says, if it pleases the king, give the Jews in Susa permission to carry out this day's edict tomorrow also, and let Haman's 10 sons be impaled on poles. So Haman got it and his sons got it because he wanted to be disrespectful to God's people. He wanted to hate them. So now they all going to get it. So the king commanded that this be done. An edict was issued in Susa, and they impaled the 10 sons of Haman. And the Jews in Susa came together on the 14th day of the month of Adar, and they put to death in Susa 300 men. But they did not lay their hands on the plunder. Meanwhile, the remainder of the Jews who were in the king's provinces also assembled to protect themselves and get relief from their enemies. They killed 75,000 of them, but did not lay their hands on the plunder. I wonder why they didn't lay their hands on the plunder. Maybe because it was the stuff of idols. I don't know. So I guess we'll find out later. If not, I think that it may have been because they had idols and things like that. That's a possible answer. So this happened on the 13th day of the month of Adar, and on the 14th day they rested and made it a day of feasting and joy. The Jews in Susa, however, had assembled on the 13th and 14th, and then on the 15th they rested and made it a day of feasting and joy. This is that is why royal Rural Jews, those living in the villages, observed the 14th of the month of Adar as a day of joy and feasting, a day for giving presents to each other. Purim established. Mordecai recorded these events, and he sent letters to all the Jews throughout the provinces of King Xerxes, near and far, to have them celebrate annually the 14th and the 15th days of the month of Adar, as the time when the Jews got relief from their enemies, and as the month where their sorrow was turned into joy and their mourning into a day of celebration. And he wrote them to observe the days as days of feasting and joy and giving presents of food to one another and gifts to the poor. So the Jews agreed to continue the celebration they had begun, doing what Mordecai had written to them. For Haman, son of Hammedatha the Agathite, the enemy of all the Jews, had plotted against the Jews to destroy them, and had cast the pur, that is the lot, or pure, I don't know if it's pur or pure, but you know what I mean. P-U-R, he cast it. And for their ruin and destruction. But God turned it around. When the plot came to the king's attention, he issued written orders that the evil scheme Haman had devised against the Jews should come back onto his own head. That's what I'm saying. Be careful when you call yourself coming against the people of God, because what you plan against them will come back on your own head. So be careful. So it came back onto his own head, and that he and his sons should be impaled on the poles that he had intended for Mordecai. Therefore, these days were called Purim, from the word pure. Because of everything written in this letter, and because of what they had seen and what had happened to them, the Jews took it on themselves to establish the custom that they and their descendants and all who joined them should without fail observe these 2 days every year in the way prescribed and at the time appointed. These days should be remembered and observed in every generation by every family and in every province and in every city. Now, this is one that I never heard of. I've never, there's a lot of the Jewish holidays that I've seen on the calendar, but this one I never seen unless it goes by another name. But this is one of the things that the Lord has put his stamp of approval for us to celebrate. And in every province and in every city, for every family, every generation. And these days of Purim should never fail to be celebrated by the Jews, nor should the memory of these days die out among their descendants. So Queen Esther, daughter of Abihail, along with Mordecai the Jew, wrote with full authority to confirm this second letter concerning Purim. And Mordecai sent letters to all the Jews in the 127 provinces of Xerxes' kingdom, words of goodwill and assurance, to establish these days of Purim at their designated times, as Mordecai the Jew and Queen Esther had decreed for them, and as they had established for themselves and their descendants in regard to their times of fasting and of lamentation. Esther's decree confirmed these regulations about Purim, and it was written down in the records. And now we come to the greatness of Mordecai. And this is chapter 10, and it's the last chapter of the book of Esther. King Xerxes imposed tribute throughout the empire to its distant shores, and all his acts of power and might, together with a full account of the greatness of Mordecai, whom the king had promoted, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Media and Persia? Mordecai the Jew was second in rank to King Xerxes, preeminent among the Jews, and held in high esteem by his many fellow Jews, because he worked for the good of his people and spoke up for the welfare of all the Jews. So that is the end of the book of Esther, and it is a testament to those that are faithful to the Lord God, that, there are battles that you do not necessarily have to fight in the way that, we are used to fighting. This was a battle that they did not have to fight. God fought this battle for them. The only thing that they had to do was fast and pray. And what the enemy meant for evil, God turned it around for their good. Everything that Haman tried to do to destroy this man Mordecai and the Jews did not work. Matter of fact, what he planned for them, what he intended for them, it was reversed and it hit them. It was like a boomerang effect. It messed him up and also his children. So a lot of times when you do things, with the intent of hurting somebody, with the intent of saying I'm going to pay them back, or I'm going to get them for whatever they did to me, a lot of times it not only affects you, but it affects your children. It could affect your wife. It could affect your entire family because of something that you want to do. It does not stop with you. So, like I said before, those that intend to do harm to the people of God, they need to be very careful, because, like I say all the time, just like Wile E. Coyote, if any of you ever watched the Wile E. Coyote cartoon, you know that every trap he set for that road runner, it never worked. The road runner would go past that trap and nothing happens. And Wile E. Coyote would go to check it out, see why, the trap didn't work according to his plan. And then boom, he always got messed up. That's what happens when you try to go after God's people. And you may not die, but there may be things that happen in your life that are not good because you choose to come against what God has said is his, what belongs to him. He protects those that are his own. He fights those that fight against us. So all I gotta say to that is, make sure you're on the Lord's side, because he fights for those who he fights against those who fight against his children. He loves his children. And what the enemy means for evil, God always turns it around for our good, no doubt about it. And it may not seem like it at the time, but in the end, it works out for our good. Have a good night. So I'll be back next week. I don't know what day, maybe Tuesday, with another Bible story. I don't know which one, but we'll make it fun and interesting. I'll tell it in my own way. All right? Thank you, guys. See you later.